Welcome. My name is Amy Blassingame, and I am a consultant and trainer for Hayes Software. Our goal today is to get you comfortable using TIPWeb-IM, the campus view. Please look under Files to Download, and we have 4 files available to you. The first is Next Steps, so after you've completed this training, your district, CPS, has some next steps they want you to go ahead and take a look at. Also, you're going to be given a Campus View training manual that's been designed specifically for your district. And your district has put together some important facts that they want you to be aware of. As I train, I'll be referring to these, and you'll also want to download and carefully read so that you can be up to date on what's going on or will be going on in your district. And last of all, I've uploaded some SLC codes. This stands for Subject Listing Code, and it's going to be a way for you to categorize by grade and subject the textbooks that are on your particular campus. Let's go ahead and let's talk about our agenda. We're going to be explaining that TIPWeb-IM is all about quantities of textbooks, quantities of teacher material, and so on. So that is the main tracking that TIPWeb-IM does. It tracks by quantity. We'll also take a look at textbooks, how to add textbooks, both district tracked and campus tracked. We'll show you how to set up that course book relationship, which will basically give you a lot of good information on how many students require a particular book. We'll show you how to change the statuses of a book from, say, distributed to a student to lost if they didn't return it when they were supposed to, paid if they pay for the book, and so on. We'll also show you how to set up components underneath a particular book, and I'll explain what that means, and how to assign a material type, which is another way to categorize the different types of materials you're tracking. A couple that I think of are student edition, teacher edition, and so on. Next, we'll show you how to increase your textbook quantities. And basically, within the application, you'll be using the vendor order to accomplish that. I'll actually walk you step by step on how to do that. Also, there's a feature that your campus may end up really liking. It's campus-to-campus transfers. And what it allows you to do is look across your district, see other campuses that may have books that you need that they're not using, and do a transfer. You can work the payment of that transfer will need to be made outside of the TIPWeb-IM application, and there's information on that in the facts guide that is attached. We're going to show you how to distribute materials to teachers and students, and that's done in the quick entry area. And we'll show you how to develop and use form letters, which are basically obligation letters, where you can let a parent know that a particular student did not return a book on time. We'll show you, very importantly, how to print barcodes from within the application and when you might need to print them and when you might not. And last of all, we'll show you some good reporting. So now I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and we'll get started. All right, so you can see my TIPWeb-IM application. This is my training site, and I'm actually assigned to Charles Bailey High School. Now, before I launch in and explain all the different areas in this application, I want to start with some basic concepts to make sure you understand how TIPWeb-IM functions. So again, it is all about quantity. So you can see a number of particular books on my screen, and this is the main tracking. It's tracked within the application by quantity. Now you can distribute portions of that quantity, and I'll show you different ways that you can do that. But your inventory quantities can be for textbooks, workbooks, teacher material, and so on. Our next slide lets us know how do you get those quantities into your campus. And there's actually 3 ways. One is a data conversion, which your district is actually doing for math and literacy. This you can find more information on under facts number 7. This particular area, when you get into your live site, you may already have some quantities in there, and that is why it could occur. Moving forward, you're going to use vendor orders to increase those quantities for both district tract and campus tract textbooks. And last of all, you can increase your campus quantities by doing that campus-to-campus transfer. There's additional information under your facts document number 8. So textbooks and other materials reside in one of 3 places within the TIPWeb-IM application. They'll be in storage, and what actually is in storage is just quantities that aren't issued, and that's what your storage count will be. You can then take some of those quantities and you can issue them by quantity to, say, a staff member. Maybe you've got a particular book and you want to give a class set of 20. You can issue again by quantity. Or if you want to print barcodes and put a barcode in the back of each book that you want to track, you can also assign a very specific accession number to a teacher. So there's 2 ways you could issue to teacher, by quantity or by very specific one-time occurring accession numbers. For students, you're limited to issuing to them by accession only. Let's go ahead and look at a barcode, and let's talk about what is an accession number. So you can see here is a barcode that I printed from within the TIPWeb-IM application, and any book that you want to assign by accession number to a staff or student needs to have this barcode printed from within the application and applied. So first you'll print the barcodes, and I'll show you where you'll do that. You'll place a barcode on the inside back cover, best practice usually, of each textbook you want to scan out. And once those barcodes are in place, you're going to scan that unique one-time occurring accession number to either a staff or a student. You can see facts number 2, 3, and 10 for more information. And last of all, what is some of the functionality that is going to assist you? Well, you're going to be able to add your own campus textbooks that you want to track, along with the district tracked books. You're going to be able to increase and decrease those textbook quantities. You can issue, therefore holding teachers accountable for either quantities or specific accession numbers. You can issue by accession to students, and very importantly, you can participate in what you call inventory, and within the application what we call audits each year, and it's basically going to allow you to update and bring into balance your campus inventory quantities. And last of all, you can definitely run all kinds of reporting from within the application. I'm going to go ahead and minimize this document, and now let's just review what we have on our main page. When you log in, there's a way for you to get help, and if you look in the upper right-hand corner of my screen, I'm going to click on the help icon, which is going to open up the help window. I'm going to go ahead and make this full screen, and on the far left, see the show. So I'm going to click on show, and that's going to reveal contents. Several areas of this contents I want to show you. I want to start off with basics and common icons that you're going to see in the application. Whenever you need to add a new campus-owned textbook or campus tract, you're going to click on Add Record. If you need to edit a particular textbook, you're going to click on the Edit icon. Save those changes, you're going to click on Save. Set the screen back to its default, you're going to click on Refresh. To execute a search, you're going to find those binoculars and click. For additional detailed information, you're especially going to see this on the textbook page. You're going to look for this little magnifying glass and click. Reporting. If it's a PDF report, you're going to see this scroll icon. There's one additional report icon you'll see, and that's an Excel, and it'll be just a small Excel sheet. If you want to cancel out, if you want to inactivate or delete, And always be sure to move within the application by using the previous page arrow and the next page arrow. I'm going to go ahead and pick a couple other areas of interest. I'm going to come down and let's choose inventory, and let's talk about orders. One of the things you're going to be doing again is increasing your quantities for the textbooks on your campus. And to do that, you're going to use vendor order. So if you forget how, you're going to come here and click on vendor order and then create a campus vendor order. And the step-by-step instructions will populate. Another area that you may want to consider, and we hope you do, is transfers and requesting ISBNs from another campus, thus allowing you to not have a middleman involved perhaps, and perhaps save some money for your campus. You'll just come and click on Request ISBNs from other campuses, and it's going to walk you step by step through that process. I'm going to go ahead and go back to our main application, and now let's talk about our home screen. You can see on the far left we have our navigation bar. In this navigation bar, we'll always be able to tell where we're at because it will populate on the upper part of our screen. We're going to be delving into textbooks. We're going to be delving into Find a Book. This is a good place to come and change the status of a book and locate a particular session number and so on. Inventory is where we're going to find vendor orders so we can increase your campus quantities. Automation is where you can go and print barcodes or issue, distribute, and collect. We're going to look at reporting. And also, under Tools, you're going to be able to add material types, which we'll talk about in just a bit. And under Other Data, if you need to add a vendor and so on, you can do that in this area. Under Alerts, there's two specific areas I want to draw your attention to. If your district, or I should say probably when your district, creates an audit for your particular campus, you're going to see it populate under New Campus Audit. As you begin working in that audit, it's going to move to In Progress. And when you submit the audit to the district, it will populate in this area. Another area you may use is pending transfers and transfers in transit. This has to do with requesting books from other campuses and perhaps them sending a request to you. Under Quick Links, just a reminder, Quick Entry is where you can go to distribute and collect books from both students and staff. On the upper right, you're going to see inventory statistics. Your campus may not have any inventory statistics when you first log in. However, it may, especially if the district did a data conversion for your site for those areas of math and literacy. Again, there's going to be more information on those data conversions in that fax document. All right, now that we've given this page a pretty good overview, I want to go ahead and remind you that you have Support Center under your Knowledge Center Learning Hub. That's the best place to find this icon because this icon has videos that are accessible to all Hays customers. However, your Knowledge Center Learning Hub has additional videos that apply just to your district along with best practices and so on. So I would encourage you not to enter this area from the live site, but always go to your Knowledge Center. This icon will still populate there, but again, other videos that apply just to your district. All right, we're going to go ahead and move on, and we're going to talk about textbooks. So to do so, I'm going to come to my navigation area, and second from the top, you can see textbooks. I'm going to go ahead and click on textbooks. And now you can see that we are on the textbooks page. So let's talk about what we see. We're going to see a blue grid header, and under this header, we're going to see the ISBNs for all the textbooks that are currently at our campus. Right to the right of that, we're going to see the title of the book, so you can see the various titles populating, along with SLC, vendor name, material type, subject area, and that all-important details icon where we can go in and get more information on a particular book. Now, before I delve in to all the different aspects, I want to go ahead and just narrow down and search for a particular book. I could scan it in ISBN by choosing ISBN. I could use material type, which you can see the material types listing. Some ones that we often see are student edition, teacher edition, consumable, and so on. SLC, which I'm going to go ahead and show you SLC. So if you look on my screen, you're going to see SLCs that we're using in our training site. However, there's been some SLCs developed for CPS that we hope that you'll use. I'm going to go ahead and bring those up on the screen so that we can talk about them. And what is SLC? It's basically a subject listing code. And what this subject listing code allows you to do is categorize your books. You can categorize them by grade and by subject. So let's just go ahead and take a look. And if it's a kindergarten book, the grade will be 0 or pre-K. Kindergarten also would be 0. Grade 1, logically, will start with a 1. Grade 2 will start with a 2, and so on. So you can see all the grades list. The exception is when we get to high school, and all high school books will begin with a 9. The second digit, just to the right, is the subject code. So you can see that 0 is the subject code for English ESL. In kindergarten and in first grade, you've got the grade 1 and then the subject code, which is 0 for English. Likewise, if we look at grade 3, it stays consistent for each grade. If, on the other hand, we want to look at math, you can see all math will start with a 1. So grade 1 math is the second digit. Likewise, in grade 3, and even in high school, 1 is the second digit. So this particular subject listing code is going to help you as you add books. You can assign a subject listing code, and you can then sort and find textbooks by grade and subject. I'm going to go ahead and look for a particular book now, so I'm going to change to a search by of all, and I'm going to try and narrow down by typing in the partial name, and I could click the binoculars to execute the search. And now you can see all of the textbooks on my particular campus with this naming. We've got literature 1, 2, 3, and so on. If we look under the material type, you can see that in most instances it is a student edition with a couple exceptions. But student edition is what we commonly see for student edition books. That's a good material type that helps us categorize. I'm going to go ahead and come down here and choose the Elements of Literature 1, and note when I hover over that it changes color. And if I click on that line, it's going to give me a little snapshot of that book. So you can see here's the ISBN along with the inventory that my campus has. So we have 579 of this particular book. Of that 579, 168 are being used, and they're going to be used by staff or students. So that means they're distributed to staff or students. And at the very end, we can see storage. So this is what is left that has not been distributed. Now let's go ahead and let's click on the details icon, and let's take a closer look at this particular book. When we click on the icon, it brings us into the textbook details page. Note we have various information at the top, along with the ability to even add an image if we so choose. Beneath, we have a few reports that we can pull, and then we have various tabs. We'll start with the Inventory tab. Again, you can see that my campus owns 579 of this particular book. Of those, 168 are issued out to either students or teachers. If one of those books had a status of destroyed, it would populate here, lost, and that would be an instance where maybe a student didn't return a book or a teacher, and we would change the status to lost. So it would move from distributed to lost. If the student paid for the book, it would move to paid when we change that status, or perhaps even partial paid. And if you decide to take advantage of the campus-to-campus transfers and you have one that's in transfer, that total will list in this particular area. And then, of course, what isn't in the above categories will be the balance listing beneath. Let's take a look at the textbook needs area. And note that it gives us a total student enrollment, a total teacher enrollment, and a total eligibility. These numbers are populating because someone came in and set up a book-course relationship, which basically means that your district has integrated in all the course numbers that are being used in your district. And you can simply come into the Courses tab, and you can select courses that go with this particular book. So if a student is in a particular course and they're using this book, you're going to assign it. And thus, you're going to get some really great reporting. So you can see our total student enrollment is 563. Our total eligibility is 563. And based on what our inventory is, we need 16 books. So this is, again, good reporting area for you. Now we're going to come back and talk about components and material types and how to set up courses just a little bit later. So we're going to go ahead and move out of this area. And next what I want to do is refresh my screen to set it back to its default. And now I want to talk about how do you get books into this area so that you can begin tracking quantities. Well, there's two scenarios I want to share with you. One is district tracked. And your district does want you to do counts and figure out how many you have, and then they want you to get those counts in. Now, I want to show you what happens, though, if we attempt to add a district-tracked book to this page. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the Add Record. And when I click Add Record, it brings up the Add Textbook window. The first thing I want to do is put in a district-tracked ISBN. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And I'm going to attempt to verify that particular ISBN by clicking on the Validate ISBN icon. And when I do, it gives me a very important message. It says this ISBN is a district-tracked material. So to add to our inventory, what I need to do is create and receive a vendor order. So basically what this is telling me is I cannot add a district-tracked book by adding textbook. I'm going to have to find that book in the vendor order process, and then it will allow me to populate it on this page. So I'm going to go ahead and X off this window since I could not complete that task. And I want to show you the next scenario. And let's say you have campus-tracked books, and you want to get those particular books in. And what is a campus-tracked book? It's simply a book that the district is not tracking. And they're, at this point in time, they're not interested in tracking. So you can go ahead and get those books in the application. So we'll start the process again, and we'll click the green Add New Record icon. We're going to come in now, and we're going to go ahead and enter in a campus-tracked book. Now, I happen to have the book in front of me. It's got a barcode on the back of it already. It's got that ISBN of the book, and it's scannable. So I'm just going to scan it off of the back of the book. And you can see that it allowed me to add this book. And right there tells me this is a campus-owned book. Next, I need a title. So I'm going to make this something very easy for us to find. And I'm going to say this is called Amy Dictionary Level 1. I'm going to need to select a vendor publisher. And if that vendor publisher is not populating, I can go to Other Data and add a vendor if I need to. I'm going to keep it simple and just choose one that's already in the list. And next I need an SLC. And since my campus is a high school, I'm going to say this is a high school book, so the grade will be 9 for all high school books. And English, the subject code is 0. So I'm going to say this is a 9,000 level book. If I have the addition, I can enter it, but these are not required. And maybe this is grade 9. Subject area I can choose. We'll say it's English. Miscellaneous I could put, and next we need a funding source. I'll select a funding source from the menu. And then we could go ahead and put in a beginning inventory. So if I've already inventoried, let's say I know I have 100 of these books, I could go ahead and add that here, and it would automatically give me that quantity. However, I do want to show you this in vendor order, how you can also increase your quantities through the vendor order process. So I'm going to go ahead and say 0. And then I'm going to give a price of $25. Next, I need a material type. Now, I could choose a material type that is already in the list and being used in the district, and I see student edition. However, I might want to go and create a material type for campus-owned. If I wanted to, I could do that by going to the Tools area and adding a new material type. For now, I'm going to go ahead and just choose student edition. I can add any additional notes that I want to populate and save. Once I save, I've successfully added this book to my campus textbook page. I'm going to go ahead and locate that book now by typing in the name or a partial of the name and clicking the binoculars to execute the search. Now I can see that my book is populating on the screen. So let's go ahead and let's go back into this book so we can talk about a few other things that we can do. Before I do that, though, I do want to show you how you can add another material type if you need to. We're going to go ahead and come down to the Tools area in our left navigation bar and click. And at the top, you can see Create Material Types. Now, material types that are created by you or anyone else in your district will populate. I'm going to go ahead and add a material type for my campus-owned student edition. So I'm going to just say campus-owned student edition. And I'm going to save. Now that I've saved, you can see that that particular material type is going to populate in my list. I'm going to move out of this area. I'm going to go ahead and go back up to textbooks. And I'm going to move back into the details area. Now let's talk about material type. Currently the material type is student edition. I'm going to click on material type and I'm going to remove the student edition by saying OK. And now I'm going to click the Add Record and I'm going to go in and I'm going to find my campus-owned student edition and save. So now I can easily categorize and tell which particular textbooks, in this case, or dictionaries, are campus-owned. Let's talk about now components. I'm going to go ahead and click on the Components area. There's more information, very importantly, in that facts document. Fact number 10 will give you lots of information on how you can use the Components area. But basically, the concept of component is that you're not planning on issuing it out to a teacher or to a student. It is more just a recording of the different components that come with a particular item. In my case, I have a dictionary. Now, there's other scenarios, so again, be sure to read fact number 10 in that document. To add a component, I'm going to go ahead and click on Add Record. And I'm going to say that with that spelling dictionary, a booklet came. And that booklet is just some spelling tips. And again, it's not anything I'm going to barcode or issue out, but I do want to know that that did come with the book, and I want a record that it is a component of the book. So it does have an ISBN number. I'm just going to go ahead and enter that. So I've got my ISBN in, and now I need a title. So I'm going to call this Spelling Tips 101. The price of it, I'm going to say, oh, it's probably worth about $4, and one of them comes with each dictionary, and I'll save. Now again, there's no way I could issue this particular ISBN out to a student or staff. If it is something that I want to issue, I need to go add a new textbook for it. I'm going to go ahead and move out of this area. And the last area that we're going to be discussing is courses. However, I'm going to be discussing this after we put on a vendor order because I want to apply some additional information through that process. So again, let's talk about vendor orders and what is their purpose. And basically, a vendor order's purpose is to allow you to increase your inventory for a particular book. And if it is a district tracked book, the vendor order process is going to also allow you to add that textbook to your textbooks area along with giving it a quantity. So where do we get started with vendor orders? You can see on my left navigation bar the inventory icon. I'm going to click on inventory, and then I want to draw your attention to the top left where it says orders and campus vendor orders. I'm going to go ahead and click on campus vendor orders, and now I'm on the campus vendor order page. From here, I could search for previous vendor orders that have been completed by saying show complete, or I can go ahead and get started with adding a brand new vendor order. This vendor order has a very specific purpose, and basically it's to get my beginning counts in the application. So I'm going to call it Startup. So I'm going to call this Startup Vendor Order, and I'll go ahead and put the date for today. And next I need to go ahead and choose a funding source. So I'll see what's available here, and I'm going to go ahead and just choose General. And there is no purchase order, so I'm going to say it's really not applicable. And then a note. I'll take a look at the date and make sure I'm happy with that, review the billing and shipping information, and I'll move forward to the next screen by clicking on the next page icon. Now I'm in the Create Vendor Orders page where I can go ahead and look at all of the books that my district has. So every book that's district tracked will populate in this area, and you can see I've got quite a few pages. Also in this area, any book that I've added that's a campus-owned book is also available to me. So let's start with how do we tell the difference between a campus-owned book and a district-owned book? Well, there's several ways. One way is that we can come down and take a look at the SLC and price. Notice that they're very dark, and nothing populates when I hover over them. But if I look for a campus-owned book, so again, these are all district tracked, I'm going to go ahead and type in that Amy dictionary. I'm going to click the binoculars to execute the search. And now here you can see, and if I hover over, it tells me this is a local campus-owned title, which simply means the district is not tracking. So this pops up all along the line. Also, another good tip is the type seems a little bit lighter on the SLC and price. But again, the key way is to look for that pop-up. I'm going to go ahead and make sure this line is orange to highlight it, and then I'm going to order copies. And I'm going to say we need, or we don't need, we actually have, I've done an inventory, and we have 100 of these dictionaries at my campus. So I want to go ahead and get my beginning inventory up and going. So I'm going to click the green plus icon, and now it's added that particular book. Note that I can click on the edit icon if I need to update the count or the price and so on. I could delete the book altogether if I decided I was not ready to go ahead and put it in yet, or I can X off just to move back out. So I'm going to X, and now you can see my book is populating. Next, let's go ahead and try to locate some of those district-owned books. So one of the books that I tried to add back on the textbook page was that Glencoe Texas Algebra. I'm going to go ahead and now try to search the district and see that if they have that district-tracked book. So I'm going to go ahead and type in Glencoe, Texas, and Alg ought to get it close enough. I'm going to click on the binoculars. And now I can see all the books in my district that are being tracked. And if I want to add this to my particular site, and it's not a campus-owned book, you can tell, I just need to click to highlight it in orange, Once it's highlighted in orange, I can come down and add some books. So I'm going to say I've done my count, and let's say we have 250 of this book. And I'm going to click on the green plus icon to add it, and now you can see that I've got that total populating. I could go ahead and click and continue to add additional books as I have my counts and so on. Once I've got all the books in that I want for this particular round, I'm going to go ahead and save. Or I could pull a report, of course. But I'll go ahead and save. This takes me out, and now I can view my vendor order. You can see it's pending. I could go back in and look at the details. I could edit if I wanted to go in and adjust counts or add more books to it. And I can receive whenever I'm ready. So I am ready to receive, so we can move on to our next topic. So I'm going to click on the receive icon. It's going to open it up and let me see the various books that I have listing. And if I'm happy, I'm going to go ahead and just receive those amounts. I can do them individually or receive all. So I'll go ahead and click on receive all. And now it's complete. All textbooks have been received and marked as complete. I'm going to move out of this page by clicking on the previous page icon. And now no vendor orders found. But if I want to see my previous vendor orders, I can put a check mark and show completed, and they're going to populate. So now that we've created that startup vendor order, I want to take you back over to the textbooks page so we can now find that book that was district owned. So I'm going to click on textbooks. I'm going to go ahead and refresh my screen, and I'm going to type in just a keyword search. I'm going to put in Glencoe, Texas, Alge. And I'm going to click on the binoculars to execute the search, and now the particular textbook is populating. If I click, it's going to reveal that I have 250 of these books. None are issued currently to staff or students, and so there should be 250 in my storage room. Now I want to go back into the details of this particular textbook by clicking on the details icon. And let's talk about two things. Let's talk about material type, and let's talk about courses. So if no material type is listing, it's best practice to go ahead and add one. You can accomplish that by clicking on the edit icon, or you can just come to the material types tab, click on the add record, search for student edition, and I'm looking for it here. Let's see. There it is, and save. Now we have a student edition. We can then come over to courses, and let's go ahead and see what happens. I'm going to click on inventory first, and you can see right now it looks like that we don't need these books because we have no student enrollment, no teacher enrollment, so we don't need the 250 we have in storage. But we're going to come over to courses, and again, because your district